Catch this rhythm. You feel that? That's called playerism. I'm on the scene, a player clean, poker face, 4 queens. I got 4 of a kind on everything. Dig this, living elite. I don't feel complete without kicking at my feet in a Rolls Royce every week. Baby, this is deep. Listen close when I speak. I need to at least, cause I'm too much. I'll be a fool if I love him. You'll be a fool if you trust him. Here with my niggas, we keeping it gangsta. Yeah, I'm a slayer, I'm just keeping it player. I'm fucking her now, we're man eating it later. That's maybe why he is a hater. I'm wearing all black like I'm being a raider. You talk to police, we call you a traitor. I'm running the city, they call me for favors. I'm running the city, they call me the mayor. Lyrical Whitney, my street presidential. She give me the canary diamonds as I'm flying Canary Islands on a runway. Fresh Easter Sunday, yes, I touched the runway. I'm blessed, she looks like she just left the runway. She wanna stay with me in this Disney fantasy and never go home like a runaway.
I'll be up before the daylight, that's why I'm getting paid, right? I'll be all in. I work hard and play hard until I hit the graveyard. I'll be all in.
I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Peace to the saints. Today we have an installment of What Would a Saint Do? What would a saint do? We're going to be discussing dating and relationships. I have a particular scenario from one of the members at patreon.com/the Saint in the Center. It will be anonymous per usual. I'm going to share this scenario and we're going to go through what would a saint do. As we go through, if you have any comments, questions, or stories of your own, feel free to send them in, as well as any tuition you might want to contribute via PayPal or Cash App or Super Chat if you must. Firstly, let me start with our tradition, showing love to those who show love to us. Ramsey comes in via PayPal with tuition truly appreciated. He's the very first. Much respect for kicking it off. Now let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, here is the scenario. Gentleman writes, hello, Marquett, and peace to you. I need some advice. In summary, I need to get a divorce. That's unfortunate. Now, mind you, I want to let everyone know that a divorce is a very grave thing. You should really only consider this when the only other option is murder, right? You're like, look, if I don't kill Shorty, either, I'm going to end up dead or she going to end up dead. One of us going, so we need to dissolve the marriage. That's kind of like the main way you should think about it. Shout out to Gabriel for supporting the work. Thank you very much. So he starts off saying, straight to the point, I need to get a divorce. Quote, I don't have much. Well, that helps, makes it easier, a little less painful. And my wife can have everything. I know this man is at his wit's end. I know this man is ready to get up out of there. I've been in that situation. You dig? Where you're like, look, I don't care. Just get her away from me, man. Whatever it costs, get her away from me. Look, she want this shirt. She can have this shirt right here. Just get her out of my face. That's when you know you fed up. You're like, look, bro, I don't even care if she take all my stuff. None of the above comes in writes tuition. I used to believe that majority is always right, but not in this wicked world. Oh, absolutely not. When it comes to the comments on your recent interview, clearly. And we wouldn't invest any time combating the comments. We'd be wise just to go through, like the video, and like all of the positive comments so we can move them up and increase their visibility. Carrying on, the Saint writes, I don't have much and my wife can have everything. All I want is my old emails back. So as soon as he says that, he's basically established what his goal is. And I really have a lot of respect for how he constructed this email. Very clear, straight to the point. He's letting me know what his goal is. This is how a man speaks, goal-oriented. I can actually help and give good advice because I know the outcome that he is desiring. Very well-written email, very clear thinking. Now, my first question is, what you mean, get your emails back? Did she hack your email account? Is your wife a cyber criminal? Is your wife a tech genius? Your wife's a hacker? That's my first thought. So I'm already suspicious of the fact that he made a mistake, which is to empower her with information, i.e., passwords, access, things she doesn't have any business having control over. Quote, you actually don't even have to read the entire email because that is the general gist of everything I'm about to say. Do you have any advice on getting a divorce if you don't have a prenup? Prenup being short for prenuptial agreement. And prenuptial agreements are generally constructed to protect the party that has more financially, so that in the event of a divorce, you can maintain your assets that you came into the marriage with and potentially protect assets that were created during the course of the marriage. Fair enough. Well, as you stated, Saint, you stated that you don't have much. So if you don't have much, and you also stated that she can have everything, well, then in that case, getting a divorce, barring the fact that there may be children involved, should be still an unpleasant process, but a touch more straightforward and less painful because your only end game is to get recover those emails. So let's think about how we can do that. And generally, we know that human beings are influenced by greed, by fear, and by lust. Greed, fear, lust. I used to say sex, but I think lust will be a better way to term it. And so we want to think through what are the triggers and levers we can pull to influence this woman and get her to do what you're seeking. Shout out to Joshua for supporting the work via PayPal. And we must know that this woman probably is not a noble individual. We'll find out. Let us not pass prejudgment, but by merit of the fact that you want to divorce her, she might have some issues. And if the case is that she has issues, certainly she's going to feel empowered having control over you vis-a-vis the emails, right? So that's a tool for her. So she's going to hold on to that with a death grip. So we're going to study this. Shout out to Jordan coming in with tuition by a Cash App. Appreciate it. And thank you to all the members at patreon.com/the Saint in the Center and all of the folks who actually support the work. It does mean a lot. He writes, now, if you do have time for the entire email, here it goes. Quote, my wife can have everything. The only thing I want is my email and to be away from her. Well, being that you're a free man in a free country, being away from her is fairly easy and straightforward. You don't even need a divorce to do that. So that's an easy part. She can have everything. Well, I trust that she might want to take everything. So that too is an easy part. He further writes, quote, I stupidly cheated on my wife before we got married. Okay. She found out after we got married and began aggressively accusing me of heinous things. Now, this actually leads into a video I'll probably be doing sometime soon, which is assessing your woman's nuclear capacity, which is to say, you know, how crazy is she? Not is she crazy, but just how crazy is she? And then number two, is she going to press the nuclear button on you and try to destroy everything, even if it means she'll get destroyed in the process? There are people like that, people who seek their own end, people who are so angry or so evil that they don't care what happens. If they get to strike at you when you get them mad, she could be one such person. We are going to talk about it. May I acknowledge Denaria sends intuition by a Cash App. Thank you very much. And I want to also see someone who's never done it before come in. And for those of you who, for some reason, don't have $1 to your name, which happens, feel free to click that like button. It's an easy way to show support. He writes, I stupidly cheated on my wife before we got married. She found out after we got married and began aggressively accusing me of heinous things. Now, heinous is a strong word. We're going to go through and see if he's actually telling the truth in terms of these heinous things. He writes, she talked me into handing her my phone. So right now, that's already a red flag, not on the side of the woman, but that's a red flag on the side of the man. When you say she talked me into, that makes me ask myself, well, who's the leader in the dynamic? Undoubtedly, the female has skills of manipulation. We all know that. We've all been victim of it. But if she's talking you into doing certain things, then you are being influenced mentally by her, which is not the proper dynamic in a male-female romantic relationship. So that's number one. She talked me into handing her my phone. I probably wouldn't do that. And by probably, I mean, I wouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't do it under any circumstance. Not because I have anything to hide, because in my case, I'm completely honest, but more importantly, because who are you, shorty? Like, who are you? I wouldn't hand my phone over to the FBI. I wouldn't hand my phone over to Debo. I wouldn't hand my phone over to anyone. So who are you to think that I'm gonna hand my phone to you? Like you're somewhere up here to police me as though like you're my parent or something. That's outrageous. So number one, we always talk about hierarchy, and hierarchy must be maintained. It goes back to Confucius. He says you have ruler and subject, older sibling and younger sibling. And get this one, husband and wife. The husband does not submit to the wife. And not to say I'd ask her to hand me her phone, I wouldn't. But if I, for some strange reason, required it, I would expect that she would surrender it. But you already made a major mistake in handing over your phone, not because there's anything suspicious on your phone, but because it establishes the wrong dynamic. It puts her in the position of you allowing her to police you. Don't do it, gentlemen. He writes, and she told me she would be grateful to me after, excuse me, graceful to me after the cheating situation. Well, that is really a reflection of her personality as to if she can get over it. The sad reality is that some women are so unhinged, and by some, I mean most of them in the West, 99.9% of them in the West and India, they're so unhinged mentally that they can't accept the realities of biology. And furthermore, due to the sick societies that we subsist in, they've been convinced that they have more power than they do. You see, if we were to rewind 100 years, there are certain things a woman wouldn't say to a man because of the basics of fear. She wouldn't say it because of fear. Now she'll say it with her cellular phone in her hand, like, "Oh, don't make me call the people on you." You see, and so this instrument of the government being at her easy access and the state being used as an instrument for her to exercise power over you, violence over you, be it physical or financial violence, she now feels empowered and not only feels on par with you, but in the case of your woman, feels like she is a superior to you. And this cannot be accepted. I'm not suggesting that you accost her physically, but what I am recommending to you is that obviously in the future you find a woman who understands hierarchy and respects it, but more importantly, in your situation, you should have been able to assess if her word was going to be accurate before the marriage. And this is what I mean. If you've never had a major blowout, a major argument, given the woman a major disappointment, really seeing her when she's PO'd, you don't understand the woman. You don't know the woman. You don't know the full measure of her. I recently shared a quotation. I'm going to make sure I make this into an infographic, which suggests that you do not understand a woman until you've experienced her in her disappointment and in her anger. Those are the two devils. And in your case, when she found out that you were unfaithful, as I trust she would call it, she was probably angry and disappointed. And you had never seen that face of hers before. You never seen the face of disappointment and anger, all the emotions and the grudge that comes with that. So you're just now discovering that after marriage, which is far too late. So what I'm encouraging you, gentlemen, is number one, be real before marriage, right? Which is to say, hey, is it a terrible thing to get busted cheating before marriage and have her find out before marriage? And then you know what she's really made of in terms of loyalty? Because let me promise to you, if a woman would break a marriage due to cheating, she's not a real one. She not. Because if you ask most women on the planet Earth, if you survey 100 women, hey, have you ever been cheated on? They're like, yeah, for sure. Well, that's just an indication that they're dealing with male nature, the human male. So if most of the human males are seeking other females, which is to say they're prone to engage sexually with other women, then you're going to break up with one male and go get another male. They have the same nature, dear. They have the same nature. One might be better at lying. One might be better at concealing, but they have the same basic male nature. So if she can't deal with the basic truths of adult males, she probably ain't one to marry. and she has her priorities out of order. You see, her priority should not be policing your penis. Her priority should be family and things like that. Shout out to Directed by Jabriz. He writes, what's the max amount of time you should make a girl wait before you bless her with a lay? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Piece of the Saints. Number one, it depends on the girl. You always have to remember that victory is fashioned from the dynamic of the enemy. Now, you have some girls that are very promiscuous and very free sexually. For example, earlier today, we had Jennifer Vaughn on, and she had basically pointed out that she's very open sexually. In her case, you'd want to make her wait longer because it's going to have a meaningful impact. In the case of a woman who might be more conservative and more reserved, you don't have to make her wait as long because a part of the waiting process she's consented to, right? So, for example, if she planned on making you wait 10 days, well, that part is not you making her wait. You were going to be waiting anyways, because if you went for it in that first 10 days, you wouldn't have got it. So say she planned on making you wait 10 days or 10 dates, whatever the case may be, and then you just take it a little bit farther. All you're trying to do in the case of what you're speaking of is get the psychological edge to where when she's ready, you're not giving it. So when she's giving you the consent for it, you're not pursuing it. And what that does to her psychologically is it flips the dynamic and it upsets her expectations, because the female expectation is that you're rushing to get the vagina. So the moment she opens up the door, you're going to run through the door. That's her expectation. So if she opens up that door and you don't run through that door the first day, you don't run through that door the second day, and then you walk through the door on the third day, you've won the dynamic. There's no need to go a long amount of time past when the consent would have been there. Now with a girl who is DTF off the rip, that's the girl you want to draw it out on. Really, really hit her hard here. Draw that out on her. And you have to hit her harder mentally, because she is going to take a lot more to get her in order. And furthermore, you have to put value on your sex, because she has no value on her sex. You dig what I'm saying? The conservative girl, if you just make her wait 3 more occasions or 3 more dates longer than she was going to make you wait, you've already won, because she already has value on her sex. So merely the fact that she's giving it to you is already a meaningful token. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for the question. He writes, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Well, in the case of a promiscuous female, which is one that you don't want to retain, the disadvantage is that, she is probably not mentally well and not moral, which means that she can't handle the fact that you're not pursuing her body, because that's what she's accustomed to, being able to instrumentalize her body to have power over males. And in her feeling powerless, she will try to regain some power by finding another male that she can exercise that psychological control over. So that would be the disadvantage. Is she going to be passing them draws around? But hey, here's the thing. If she's promiscuous, she is going to get to that anyways. What are the advantages? There's a multitude of advantages. But first and foremost, it's that you have created a dynamic that lets her know she will never be in control of you by using her body as an instrument, which means her body is not a negotiating tool or chip. She can never withhold it from you, and it will never bother you if she tries to. So that's the power play there. Shout out to A+. He writes, peace to the saints. It was great seeing you representing the assassin on No Jumper. Appreciate that. You are already a great man. It's just a matter of the world catching up and recognizing it. Thank you very much. And I share that same compliment right back to you. We are all great men, birds of a feather flock together. And indeed, we're going to make sure that we pump out this message. Now, also acknowledge Joseph comes in via Cash App with tuition. Truly appreciated, Saint. Thank you for the support. Carrying on. He writes, she talked me into handing her my phone and told me she would be graceful to me after the cheating. Let's just say this. 9 out of 9 women are not going to forgive you. 9 out of 9. They're not going to forgive you. Every now and then there's a woman that can get over it. And it's not so much that she got over it. It's more so that she's accepted that you're going to do what you're going to do. And she's going to allow you to do that because for her, you are Superman. For her, you are the best she feels like she can get. whether it's from a visual standpoint, an economic standpoint, an age standpoint, whatever the case is, there's something about you that has checked enough boxes to where she says, I'm going to put up with a man being a man. Whereas in the other case, you got females that are saying, you know what? I could replace you. I'm not going to let you do what you want to do. Because what is human life except a negotiation? And if she feels like she can get another guy that's as good relatively easily, she's going to be a hard person to negotiate with. So she's not going to give you any ground. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Let us be clear that life is a constant battle. The question is, can you enjoy the battle? Shout out to Sistos, comes in with tuition by a Cash App, writes peace to the saints. So she says she's going to be grateful, but then took my email and about 12 years of meaningful projects and changed the passwords and put them all on her phone. She also called my family and told them about my cheating. So there's a lot there in that two sentences. Number one, if she called your family to tell them about your cheating, that signals a couple things. That signals, number one, that she's completely out of control. Number two, she doesn't have the basic civility of maintaining a relationship in its proper form, which is between, if you're monogamous, between two persons. In fact, even if you're not monogamous, the relationship is between two persons. The husband might have it between wife one, and then him and wife two, and then him and wife three. A relationship, a romantic relationship, is between two persons. So she's not civil enough to keep it between two persons. She's so emotional that she's willing to put her business and your business out in the public sphere. And yes, your family that's outside of your immediate family, that is the public sphere. It's inappropriate. And more importantly, she's trying to punish you, trying to embarrass you by doing that. So that's an early indication that she is a vengeful person. She is the kind of vindictive individual who is going to try to do things to hurt you. And here's the worst part about it. She's not even very intelligent or thoughtful, because if she'd have told my mother that, my mother would have been like, oh, is that right? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And probably said, well, you know what? You can just keep that to yourself in the future. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Would have got off the phone, called me straight away, like, hey, your wife called and said X, Y, and Z. Is she nuts? Is she crazy? What's going on with her? You might need to get rid of her. Yeah, my mom would have did that. Why? Because your mom theoretically should be closer to you than she is this woman. And my mom gonna ride with me to the end. I hope your mom's the same. And so she's just trying to create discord. This is the kind of woman that's gonna call your job. She's going to reach out to your friends. She's going to do everything to damage your other relationships. And these are the kind of things that can be psychologically destabilizing to any person when someone's attacking all of your relationships. It's a terrible thing. Very sad to see your wife do this kind of thing. Moreover, the piece about her not only going through your phone, but somehow being able to take all of your information, your emails for the last decade, and then moving it onto her phone. You see, it would have been one thing if she would have just deleted it. You say, okay, she's an angry woman. She did something out of anger. She deleted all of this information. I'm mad. We can never recover it. But she did something different. She wanted to hold on to it. So it's like she grabbed your testes and she wanted to hold them in her hands and like squeeze them with her nails digging into your skin and not do it. She didn't want to rip them off. She just wanted to make you agonize year after year. It's quite a sad thing, but it lets you know the wickedness inside. Very, very strange behavior, and certainly the behavior of a controlling, vindictive person. Quite sad. Shout out to Teddy, comes in by a Cash App. Man, this is heavy stuff right here. Then he writes, she also called my family and told them about my cheating. I'd be curious, saying, I wish you would have shared how she found this out. That indeed is an important thing for us to know. Did she find out through immoral means, meaning she went through your private email, your private messages, your Instagram DMs? Did she call a mutual friend? How did she find out this information? That I would really want to know, because it is important. Furthermore, the saint writes, she also took several of my personal contacts people that I've known for years and completely blocked me from speaking with any of them. Well, my first question would be, what do you mean by she blocked you from speaking with any of them? One thing I'll say is, as of now, it sounds as though you are an abused wife. I know you're the husband, but it sounds like you're an abused wife. And I want to be straightforward with you guys. And this reminds me of a gentleman in the UK. I believe an Indian gentleman. I believe he's Indian by ethnicity, but a UK guy. Had the pleasure of meeting the Saint when he came to Saint City. But it reminds me of him, and he has such a kind heart. And what you guys have to understand is every man has a pimp hand, but there are levels of strength to your pimp hand, and you have to be able to assess the strength of your pimp hand and find a woman that can be managed according to the strength of your pimp hand. You see, this woman that the gentleman is describing right now, you have to have a very strong P hand to deal with this kind of a female. And in fact, she might actually need a P because I could tell she's the very dysfunctional personality that requires a certain level of force to keep her in line. And the worst part about it is she actually will appreciate that level of force because she is a dysfunctional individual. It's a very sad thing what we're hearing about right now. We also know that she's really there's had to be some trauma. I'd be curious as to how much you doctor filled the girl and what you found out about her background, because what we see in her telling your family about your cheating, she's trying to discredit you in front of your loved ones and your blood relatives to make them think low of you, perhaps cause them to slowly drift away psychologically and to disassociate with you, thereby removing your other sources of love, your other sources of emotional support and stability, to isolate you. You also noted that she cut off contact between you and people you've known for years. This sounds like a strategy that's used by sex traffickers when they kidnap a new person that they're trying to control and make work for them. She's cutting off everything you have outside of her. Mm, that's curious. Very curious. Writes, I even had family members reaching out trying to get a hold of me and wondering what happened. That's not good. She told me I have gay mannerisms. Oh, say it ain't so. Shout out to Teddy. He writes, any plans on doing more book breakdowns? Yeah, when I get back to the States, I actually do have some plans of doing that. Absolutely. On books, I already have. You know, one guy sent like 20 bucks. Like, hey, can you do a book breakdown? I'm like, do you know it takes like 8 hours to read a book? So you want me to take 8 hours to read the book and then another 8 hours to break it down? Like, I don't think that's quite covering it. But yeah, I'll do it on some books that I have at the house. So right here, when he states that she told him that he has gay mannerisms, that's very concerning for a number of reasons. Number one, she's questioning the most foundational things about his masculinity. And it's clearly aimed only at hurting and insulting him, hurting his psyche. We know this can't be something too serious, because if it was serious, she would have never married him. If it was a red enough flag, she would have said, this guy guzzles Skittles. I can't marry him. But she went through with the marriage, didn't she? And we know that his mannerisms didn't develop after the marriage. Furthermore, if he was unfaithful to her, presumably he was unfaithful with a female. So she has no evidence of him engaging in homosexuality. So whether his mannerisms in her view are feminine or not, he's clearly not a homosexual. And that's the big issue: is he or is he not? And clearly he's not. So this is only aimed at insulting him, hurting his feelings, making him feel less of a man, which is perfectly in line with all of what I've described before this, which is the emasculation process. When she took, like, Debo'd the phone, like, give me your phone, give me your phone, I'm Big Worm, took his phone and was just going through his stuff, changing passwords and all that good stuff, that was her dominating him. So in that experience, he was emasculated and she was dominating, which is the more masculine side of the dynamic. A very unfortunate thing to have occur. But let us acknowledge that if it occurred, it's because he allowed it. And I hope that when he moves on to his next female, he's selective about getting a female that he can manage, a female that he can dominate, because it is important that you can dominate your female. And dominate might sound like a strong word, but it just is what it is. And even if you were on the live session earlier with Jennifer, I'd asked her, I said, hey, do you like to be dominated? She said, absolutely. There you go, point blank, period. Shout out to Count D, comes in with the tuition. Rice peace to the saints, appreciate it. Directed by Jabrizi writes, do you think him getting the woman to sign an NDA and following up with a cease and desist would have, no, absolutely not. You see, only civilized people and people with something to lose respect the law, respect rules, follow law, follow rules. People who have nothing to lose, or people who are angry or to the point where they can't control themselves, people who are wicked, they're going to act on emotion. And a great example of this is we saw when R. Kelly was going through his trial, there were a number of women who had signed an NDA. And not only did they sign an NDA, they also were paid significant amounts of money, in excess of six figures, in some cases, multiple times. And they broke the contract, the legal contract, and there was no consequence for it. They broke the contract, took his money, and still did a tell all. Not only did they tell all, in the court system, they even went on a Netflix documentary. I don't think there's any greater way to break an NDA than those ways. And what consequence was there? One thing we have to be aware of is that, one, there's no such thing as a woman of her word, generally speaking. The term is a man of his word. A woman of her word is not a concept. What you're really relying on is the values of the woman that she was raised with, the things that she truly believes in before she met you. You're also relying on her levels of fear. Does she actually have fear that will impact her behavior, like real fear of the consequence of an NDA, or real fear of consequences of what you might do or have done? In some cases, they don't have that fear. And in that case, you just have to levy the consequence. And one thing I really want to be clear about, whether we're talking about males or females, the truth is some people might know what the consequences are, but they're still going to do the crime. And speaking of such, make sure that you tune in. I'm going to list this live really soon. I'm going to have Banky Pound. You might have seen him on Vlad. He's going to be coming on Wednesday. He's going to be talking about his life story. It's going to be brilliant and fascinating. But I say that to say, we all know criminals know the consequences of crimes, yes, yet they still do the crime. That is the nature of humankind. Only some of us are going to wait until the white walk symbol shows up before we go through the crosswalk. A lot of us are going to look left, look right, and say, there's no cops around, I'm going to jaywalk. That's the nature of humankind. We can't forget that, sometimes we have all these pieces of civilization around us, laws, government, police, etc., but not unless the consequence is immediate and strong will these things be obeyed. The reason guys pay child support, not because they want to, because you can end up getting your wages garnished. You can end up doing jail time in some countries. That's why they pay. So you have to ask yourself, can you have a girl do jail time because she broke an NDA? No. Can you garnish her wages because she broke an NDA? I don't know that ever happens. You could sue her, but let's be real. What does she have? Not much. Not much. And in the case of, say, the girls breaking NDAs with guys like you who are wealthy and famous, well, they probably make more money breaking the NDA than keeping their word, right? If a girl had, say, something salacious or sensational to say about you, and I was like, hey, I want you to come on my YouTube channel. I'll give you $30,000 to do a tell-all about Jabrizi. Well, that's a check right there. What check are you giving her to maintain the NDA? See? So she'll take the check from me. That's money up front in hand. Then you got to sue her on the back end. And by the time you get around to that, you're not going to be able to collect anything. And it's probably going to be a case where it's going to cost you money to even get the lawsuit, executed anyway. So what can you do? Shout out to Romario, comes in by PayPal. He writes, peace to the saints. Glad to catch a live. Class is in session. I need to watch the No Jumper interview. I can imagine the amount of game dropped. Went to drop a like and comment. Hashtag Sassin or nothing. Shout out to the real ones. Truly appreciate it. Absolutely. Carrying on. And thank you for your question. I see someone writes, this mail sounds like a bit. See, that's not necessary. And that's not the way that we behave, especially when we're talking about our own. Like, let us have some honor. You say, like, let us respect those who are in our family. Please pay attention to what I'm sharing here. That is not our way. Carrying on. He writes, she told me I have gay mannerisms. That's super funny. I can't even lie. Oh man. He writes, which stung deeply because I used to be insecure about my mannerisms, thinking them to be awkward. I still think about this insult multiple times a day. That's a lot of times a day. Okay, that's a lot of times a day. And when you say that stung deeply, it must have stung. I'll tell you this one, Saint. Uh, the truth is, there's no such thing as a gay mannerism in reality, because let us be clear on this. To engage in homosexuality is to engage in sodomy. That's what it is. It's sexual interaction between two males. The way you might move your hands or posture your body or whatever you're doing that she says is gay mannerisms, that has nothing to do with sodomy. So you might have chiefly or characteristics or movements that people might say are chiefly feminine. But at the end of the day, if you're not engaging in sodomy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And we're not all the same. I don't have any hair. Jabrizi has a lot of hair. We're all different as human beings. One guy might be more solidly constructed. Another guy might be slim. One guy might have more masculine hand gestures. Another guy might have more feminine hand gestures. It's fine. The only reason that any of this stuff is even a conversation topic is because we have perversion in our land. For example, if you go to other places, like say, I've been in Ethiopia, I've been in the Middle East, I've been in Northern Africa, and you'll see guys might have greater levels of physical proximity. I've even unfortunately seen guys holding hands in the Middle East. Now, I don't know why the Arabs are doing this. They need to knock it off, but you don't have to, in a land where engaging in sodomy is against the law, carries capital punishment, or carries jail time, and there's no thought that people are doing weirdo stuff or even having weird intentions. You don't have to worry about a guy's hand mannerisms, because no one's searching for that, because it's not a common thing and it's not promoted in the society. I say that to say, be comfortable with yourself. If you're not engaging in sodomy, who cares how you move your hands, my boy? If you're not engaging in sodomy, who cares what this broad has to say? Okay, it just is what it is. Be confident in who you are and how you live. You dig? So next time she says something crazy like that, man, go ahead and laugh at the broad. Go ahead and laugh at the broad. Yeah, she's a goofball broad, anyways. I mean, who would want to say that about their husband? It's really a disgusting thing. No Custo Main writes, yo, some clown fake P named Freeze Is It is live making a whole video about you right now. Go look. He hangs with Cinda P. No one's going to go look because he doesn't matter. And we're going to expect these clowns to make videos about me because I'm popping. That's all it is. I was on No Jumper, and I'm like, oh, man, he's on No Jumper. His name is getting bigger. Let's go suck on his ball so we can get some clout. Nah, we ain't gonna move like that. He's a nerd. He's a nerd. Anyways, and I never who are these people? They don't matter. They don't matter. Shout out to Black Knight 88. He writes, thanks for this valuable knowledge. Peace to the saints. Truly a pleasure. Directed by Jabrizi writes, damn, there needs to be a mafia to keep these 304s in check. Oh, indeed. I mean, you really have to have a whole culture around keeping them in check. You really do. And we're creating such. Adrian says he came in via Cash App. I see it right. Yeah. Adrian writes, peace to the saints. I'm currently a junior at a university majoring in computer science. Congratulations. Would it be wise to obtain a master's in computer science and cybersecurity? No, I don't think so. If I were you, I would go into the field. And the reason I would go into the field is that you're in a fast moving industry. So the ability of the school system, the university system, to keep up with what is bleeding edge in the market is not there. So you'd be wiser to go in and get some on-job training, learn about what's bleeding edge, learn about what you're interested in. And often your employer will send you to school part-time to focus in a particular area, which hopefully will be of your interest. So I would go and start working. Carrying on. May I acknowledge Kareem writes, thank you for everything. Truly a pleasure. And thank you for your support and loyalty. May I acknowledge Romario comes back. He writes, I was able to find out a lot about a female I'm dealing with after meeting her friends. Believe that. She claims her SLUT friends aren't a reflection of her. Okay, baby, yeah, right. Peace of the saints. Yeah, no, they all got that same story. It's funny. Every chick has a friend that's a thought, but they're never that friend, right? They're never the thought. They always have a friend that's a thought. It gets like that. What can you do? What can you do? So number one, don't worry about your wife's insults. And in fact, if you might have feminine mannerisms, it's fine. Carry on. Be yourself. That's that 3 cents Bible. Number one, be yourself. Number two, be good to yourself. Number three, be good to good people. And as of now, I'm getting the sense your wife might not be a good person, not by our standards. He writes, she accused me of guzzling Skittles every day for months. See, that part kind of messes me up because it's like, come on, bro. Like you woke up in the morning and she was like, good morning. Did you dream about getting it in the back door? I'm just like, God, like, is she just harassing you with it? He says she accused him of guzzling Skittles every day for months. That's actually psychological abuse. I think, that is actual abuse right there. And by the way, to the multitude who have not supported the work, feel free to hit the like button. It looks like we're a little bit behind on that. That's crazy. He writes, saying that certain physical symptoms I've had are proof. And he writes, blood in my stool and bloated stomach. I have blood in my stool, but it has nothing to do with an STD or anal intercourse, as she claims. Yeah, I mean, that could be due to many things. That could be due to hemorrhoids, I believe is the term. That could be due to hemorrhoids. You could have an anal fissure. There are different reasons that could be the case. But the sad thing is that she cares so little about you that rather than say, oh, you might have a health issue or how can we navigate this health situation, she's more so concerned with making fun of you, ridiculing you, and trying to put you down. I mean, this is a very dangerous personality. And I truly pray that you didn't have children with this individual, because this is the person that is not going to raise up confident, healthy, mentally well-adjusted kids. This is the person who's going to raise up children who are fragile, children who are scared of the world, children who have low self-esteem. She is a wildly negative, dangerous personality. And I'm very happy that you're ready to get a divorce. And I would hope to never even have to say something like that. It doesn't even sound good saying I'm happy that you're ready to get a divorce, but this stuff is extreme. He writes, and moreover, flush the toilet, bro. Like, flush the toilet. How she even know that you have blood in your stool? Either A, you didn't flush the toilet, which is not proper, and I'll even flush it multiple times. That's just me, though. You heard me? I flush it multiple times. I might even hit it with the little scrubber. You dig? We just trying to keep it saintly out here because I don't want to see any remnants that she had, and I'm not trying to do the same thing. Frankly, I don't even really share bathrooms with anybody. I got 5 bathrooms. I don't share bathrooms. It's just not necessary. And I would advise anybody, if you have the luxury to not have to share a restroom with a woman, don't do it. It's not pleasant. Don't do that. That's not cool. Moreover, with regards to the blood in the stool, either you didn't exercise proper cleanliness or you told her, you said, hey, I'm experiencing blood in my stool, which is not an unreasonable thing to share with your wife I think it's the quotation goes something like this is the woman is something to the effect of next to making the bandage, the woman is really good at making the cut, which is to say that, yes, the woman is the healer, the nurturer, and next to bandaging you up, her next best skill is making you bleed. And I think this is very much so true. But I say that to say, yes, your wife is your caretaker at some level. So I understand you might have shared this personal thing. Hey, I'm having blood in my stool. I need to see a doc, or whatever the case is. And then she took this information and used it for evil. Whatever the case was, you need to correct on both ends. If you were not exercising proper cleanliness, and that's not saintly, bruh, flush that toilet as many times as you need. And then number two, the second piece, once you've identified someone to be your enemy, be aware that information is dangerous. Yeah, it's super dangerous. You like if you are going to give someone some information and you don't know, you cannot estimate what they will do with it, it's much better to withhold that information. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, withhold that information. Please believe it. Carrying on. She told me that she believes I've been abused by women as a child, and she tried to pressure me to get therapy over my childhood. I'd be curious as to why she thinks you've been abused by women. If she's suggesting that you're a Skittle guzzler, wouldn't she claim that you were abused by males? Very strange. Might be a projection. Quote, she kept bringing up the oddly specific idea of therapy and childhood to me. It's ironic because it sounds like she needs some serious therapy. And in fact, I'd be curious, and you haven't included any details about this thus far. So I'm presuming that you've not properly Dr. Phil'd this female. And I wouldn't be surprised because this kind of personality is the type that's going to be very much so blocked off. He writes, she continually accused me of still cheating, stating that she had proof. Oh boy. For example, me leaving a few minutes early to go to work. Oh, don't mess up the money, baby. One of my car seats being pushed back. Oh, that's evidence, is it? Having a grocery bag in the car, which she says is a sign because I didn't tell her I was going to the grocery store. Even the carpet being allegedly moved in a sign is a sign of me cheating on her. Yeah, this individual is psychotically paranoid. And in fact, she probably needs to be mentally assessed. And one of the critical conversations to have with a woman, especially nowadays, is are you seeing a therapist? Have you seen a therapist? What caused you to start that? Are you on any psychotropic drugs? Do you have a history of bipolar in your family? Like, you don't want to ask it like that. You don't want to make it sound like a medical interview, but is necessary nowadays because so much of the human population is doped up. Shout out to Daniel supporting the work on a consistent basis, as well as Joe Lacudo writes, peace to the saints. Darius writes, can you book a consultation for life advice? Absolutely. In fact, I'd say that initially the great majority of consultations were about such. And sometimes you have major decisions in life that you really should get some advice on. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. Yeah, I mean, it's your time that you choose. Carrying on. He writes, she started telling me that I'm emotionally abusive. Dang, you're emotionally abusive? Sound to me that she been abusing you. You're a weirdo. You got some Skittles, don't you? What were you dreaming about? You're dreaming about eating Skittles. You're laid out, Skittles just shooting out of your mouth and your patootie. Yeah, you eat Skittles, don't you? You listen to Little Richard, don't you? Yeah. All right, I'm not getting into it. But anyways, look, that's crazy that she's telling you have gay mannerisms, that you are a homosexual, that you're cheating, has told your family about your infidelity, has stolen your private information, is holding your emails hostage, and then turns around and tells you you need to see a therapist after she did all that to you. This is wild. What I'd also be curious as to is how long of a time period has this gone on? And that's a meaningful thing because a part of it, you got to ask yourself if it went on for a long time, you know, why did you allow yourself to be in this dynamic so long? And you're not the only one of us. Like a lot of us have, been in a bad situation longer than we should have. And I always want you gentlemen to think of it this way, and lady saints as well. If you're in a bad situation, you should view it as a burning house. You going to let the house burn down with you in it, or you going to get up out of there with a little bit of pep in your step? Don't stand around asking yourself how long you can stay there, how long these beams will hold this ceiling before it caves in on you. Get up out of there. I don't want to say that life is short. I don't know that to be a fact, but I can say that time moves quickly and you don't know how much time you have on the clock. It's worth it to be happy. He writes, she started telling me that I'm emotionally abusive because I use sarcasm. Well, I recommend against sarcasm if that is true. And because I use sarcasm when we argue. Yeah, that's not going to help the argument. So it is correct. Do not use sarcasm. And I ignore her when she starts talking crazy and saying delusional things. Hey, ignoring a person like this is probably going to drive her crazier, but it is probably one of the better things you can do. He writes, she also says that I gaslight her by telling her she is delusional. Well, here's the thing. That's not gaslighting, but it is pouring gasoline onto a bad situation. And what I mean by that is you don't want to use the label or call a name because that's only going to infuriate the woman. What you might do instead is to describe the behavior. So rather than say, you're crazy, you might instead say, well, you know what? You went to tell my mother about me cheating on you, although you claimed you would handle it gracefully and that it was in the past. Telling my mother that doesn't put it in the past. How do you feel about that behavior? You don't need to name it, but ask her, how does she feel about it? Now, remember, there will come times when you're dealing with your lady, you're not going to agree. I want to be clear, you're not going to agree. And there's no amount of time, no amount of logic that's going to bring you to common ground. You just have to, I'm not going to say agree to disagree, but you just have to agree to focus on greater priorities and let that go. There's some things that you can't let go. It seems like it bothers you that she accused you of guzzling Skittles and said you had gay mannerisms. That wouldn't bother me in that it hints at truth, but rather it would suggest either A, she has an evil drive to destroy your self-esteem, or B, she actually believes this, which is weird. Why would you want to be married to someone who thinks that about you? So, yeah, I mean, that's something I wouldn't say, hey, I'm just going to ignore it. I'd be like, nah, like we need to, you heard me? Like, I think this is over, shorty. But the thing is, that should have came out before the marriage. Free game. Even free game sent in tuition. Hey, everybody, free game sent in tuition. Catch up. The man said free game. He still sent it. He writes, that green suit you had on no jumper was fire. Bruh, you did. Man, it showed up looking like the Riddler out here. The supervillain showed up looking like the Green Goblin. Yeah, appreciate you. Fabian writes, saying, at what age should a man leave his family's house? Depends on a lot of factors, sometimes on culture, religion, what have you. I'll tell you this, when you start to ask this question, you're probably creeping up on that time when it's time to get up out of there. He writes, I feel like I would be spending useless money being on my own, but I'm ready to start standing on my own too. I have a decent job and a degree. Well, you're probably going to want more reason than that. And truth be told, there's a lot of independence you can have living in your family's home, whether it's covering all of your own expenses and preparing your own meals, making your own decisions, paying part of the expenses of the family home, whatever the case is. You have to ask yourself, well, what's driving you to want to separate outside of your family home? Truth be told, there's a great psychological support there. And some ethnic groups and some religions, like a lot of Muslims, the male and the female don't move outside of the family home until they're marrying. So those are some of the considerations that you should make. But here's one thing I want you guys to know. If you're not getting along with your parents, but you're living under their roof, you might need to start getting up out of there. There you go. I'm not signing off on that. He writes, by 18, you should be out, definitely by 21. I'm not signing off on that. I was out by 16, but I still would not sign off on that as a general rule. Shout out to Paulos, comes in with the support. And shout out to the Saints up in Sweden. We deep out there. Deeply goated writes, I appreciate your time in the game you give. Peace to the Saints. Thank you very much. And we all want to feel appreciated, right? Like that's one thing that's just deeply human. We all want to feel appreciated and acknowledged. Darren writes, 4 lives in one day while on vacation. You truly embody that hard work and hustle and show what hustle looks like. Lately, I do want to say that, you guys are never going to see me working harder than when there's hate. I don't think these guys realize that the hate, I take it all and I transmute it. I take all the hate, just like when I was in poverty. I took all the poverty, just like, when I didn't have a proper family around me growing up. I took all of those broken things and I transmuted it and I fixed it into something I could use. I can't be defeated. The haters just make me work harder and work smarter. You dig? Yeah. So, and of course, I mean, what is this like? What is this, suede right here? Yeah, I'm gonna relax a little bit. You dig? And truth be told, to be honest with you guys, just side note, I've been smashing so many bad chicks that I feel like I need to recuperate. I didn't even know there was a such thing as too much intercourse. There is. Don't do it. I've been there. You heard me? I'm just trying to recuperate right now. Yeah, in a real way. So yes, we going hard, and the hate keeps me fueled. It keeps me fueled because I can't wait to destroy these people. So I'm gonna work harder and smarter. Thank you for that acknowledgement. He writes, lately, I've been trying to eliminate TV from my life. Okay. And I watch one documentary a day instead. Beautiful. Recently watched a documentary on Mr. Rogers. I now have a deeper respect for him. Oh, he was a real G. Question: how do you go about deciding which documentaries are worth watching and are not liberal propaganda or fluff pieces, Piece of the Saints? I tend to think about it in terms, I like man against the system pieces. And it's not so much about the figure that's being documented, rather, it's about who's saying. You can watch a documentary about Joseph Stalin, and one might be favorable, one might be objective, and then one might be negative, subjective. So you're really just trying to find the one that inspires and motivates you. And that's really what you're using it for. Also, if you remember at patreon.com/the Saint in the Center, and I'm actually glad you mentioned this, I have a list of my favorite documentaries there. So if you scroll back, go back a couple months maybe, there's a list of my favorite documentaries, all very inspirational pieces. Thank you for the support. Yeah, indeed. It's Hustlemania 24/7. Dre, Snoop, and Devin. Carrying on. Quote, she stands over me when I text people and then reads back through the conversational thread. So, Saint, I want to, and I think you're aware of this, but you've permitted her too many freedoms. You've permitted her too much control and influence. And also, your instincts need to be calibrated a little better. Truth be told, I don't like anybody like hovering over me or standing. You put it as standing over. That is going to send off my spidey senses in the wrong way. So you certainly need to let her know, like, shorty, you don't get your dumb, you don't get your dumb, yeah, like you need to like put her in her place. But the truth is, what you've experienced with her, there's no fixing this. There's only an exit to be made. What you need to be preparing is your mentality for this next woman, a woman who will be worthy of you, and also make sure that you're seeking a woman that is exceptionally feminine, because the woman that you've been dealing with is very masculine. And in addition to that, you not only need a woman that's feminine, but a woman that is going to yield to you. And you have to make sure that you're staying in that strong position, which is a man's position, because there are a lot of behaviors that you're exhibiting in which you're suffering because you are submitting to suffering. Like when you said she reads back through the conversational thread, you would have had to have allowed her to do that. There's no other way she could have done that. He writes, she once saw that I called a coworker and then called him back and accused him of being my gay lover. Oh, that's crazy. Whew. I mean, shout out to this gentleman for not having mollywop shorty. You did? Because, man, it'd be hard to not lay the black side of the hand on her. You did. In a real way, she out of control. He writes, she says that the lady I cheated on her with looks like a man. That's what they all say, bro. Even I've been there. Yeah, man, I had this one little piece from Pennsylvania. And, I had a side piece. And she knew about my side piece, but they still going to get jelly. My side piece was from Hollywood, and she was making big bucks, cashing me out in a real way. And so my main piece was like, she looks like a man. And in my head, I was like, How she look like a man when her rack way bigger than your rack? You heard me? Nah, she don't look like a man. Her rack bigger than your rack. Her hips wider than your hips. Her cheek. Nah, shorty, you mad? You jealous? This is what women do. They're never gonna be honest. You're rarely gonna have a main piece and a side piece, and your main piece and side piece are gonna look at each other and compliment each other. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. It's very rare. Let me say that. Yeah, she's a liar. Anyways, abuse claims. Whoa, we got a heading here. Uh-oh. The ultimate straw that broke the camel's back. The ultimate straw. It sounds like a chapter in your life story. It's a chapter in your book called The Ultimate Straw. This is bad, man. Woo. The ultimate straw that broke the camel's back. She walked up to me while I was putting on my belt. And when the hard part of the belt dropped, it hit her foot. She claimed that I hit her with the belt on her foot on purpose. I told her I don't play like that and that she is going too far and things like that are not okay, even jokingly. Oh, I agree. I agree. And, one thing I can share with you all, we all suffer, having certain biases and errant ideas implanted in our minds, from our upbringing, from our parents, family members, from culture. And one of the false ideas that was implanted in my mind, particularly from my grandmother, who was raised during, the time where Black folks didn't have the right to vote. She was raised in the South, grew up picking cotton. So needless to say, she was no fan of white folks in general. And one thing she would tell me when I was a young man, she said, "Hey, Marquett, do not get involved with a white woman. They are going to call the police on you. They're going to accuse you of stuff. They're going to make up stuff. Don't deal with them. They're all bad. They're going to use the government, the police, all of that against you. They're going to lie." And I remember taking that to heart, and it actually created a paranoia within me. A paranoia such that I remember when I was in university, actually, it was immediately after university. It was my first year out of university. I was dating a young lady who's actually Mexican, 100% Mexican, but phenotypically white. So you look at her, she looked like a white girl, but she's a real Mexican. And she was in my house one time in Baltimore, and she was showering. And I guess maybe she was menstruating and the shower got too hot and she fainted in the shower, passed out. And I went in there and I saw her little white body laid out. And my first thought was like, oh, I got a dead white girl in my bathroom. I'm going down. I'm going down. They about to accuse me of everything OJ did. I'm going down. And my first thought was like, don't get my fingerprints on this dead white broad. This is all bad. Like, I'm over here trying to elbow her. Like, you okay? You okay? Point being, that was a reminder of the visceral fear that was installed in me by someone who had a unique experience in life and took their pain and their trauma and misinterpreted the world. I'm not saying it's not true that white chicks won't hashtag me to you and all this other stuff. Look how they got Bill Cosby. It was like exclusively white women. But Black women will also call the police on you, Latina women, any woman. They will leverage whatever they can leverage to get back at you when they're feeling vengeful. So I say that to express, no, it's not just white women, it's all of the women. And it was a bias that was put in my mind by someone else. And a part of what you have to do is clean the mind of garbage that's not helpful, that's not true. I say all that to say, when he told his old lady, the gentleman regaling us, when he told his old lady, hey, don't even joke like that. Yeah, for real, don't joke like that. And whether the girl's Latina, white, Black, Asian, they'll all use the police on you. Yeah, if they're that kind of person. Huh? There's some Black women that they ain't gonna call the law. No, sir, they don't mess with the law. There's some Latinas, you could whoop they butt and they just gonna have to deal with it within the household. There's Amish women that are like that. There's white women that are like that. So you have to know who you're dealing with. And clearly in his case, one thing we know for certain, he dealing with the kind of chick who not only will fabricate it and call the law when there's nothing, but certainly if there was something, she gonna call the law. And for that reason alone, you need to get up out of that house with her and get up out of that marriage ASAP. you're in a very dangerous situation. You're in a situation where she can take away your freedom. Shout out to Saint Ra or Saint RA. He writes, Peace to the Saints. Shout out to the white women. Yeah, shout out to the white women, the white girls, the snow bunnies. Yeah, but anyways, I gave her a few elbows, and she was like, oh, I passed out. It's my period. It happens sometimes. I was like, well, look, carefully get your white body out of my shower, please. And we gonna get you back good, and we gonna get you up out of here so you can pass out at your house. Okay, okay. Oh man. Mask Maker writes, how would you go about spitting game to a coworker? Generally, I wouldn't. Here's a good thing about working with a female. If you work with her over time and you're in her presence on a consistent basis, if she feeling you, you hear me, she gonna let you know what to do. She gonna let you know that. You see, if there's a question of is she feeling me to the point where I need to spit the game, that's a little bit more risk than I want to involve with my money. That's just me though. Now, if she's your boss, I might consider it. If she's your inferior in the hierarchy, I would never do it because that's for sure a case. So, hey, if you feel like, what would a saint do? A saint wouldn't do it. What would a sinner do? If she's your peer, maybe. If she's your boss, well, why not? Because if it goes through and you're successful, it's not like you're going to be the one in the wrong. She has the power dynamic in her favor. But remember this, if it goes south, she has the power dynamic in her favor. She can like do you dirty, but you could also do her dirty and report her. 9 out of 9, I wouldn't do it. Just want to give you all the options there. But what would a saint do? A saint wouldn't do it. I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm saying I wouldn't do it. Carrying on. He writes, I work in corrections, and every time an officer gets in trouble, it is over domestic violence. I believe that. He writes, I wasn't raised around violence. That's your good fortune. I don't partake in fighting women. Very good. Shouldn't even be fighting. Should just be knocking them out. You dig? I mean, what, they gonna put up a fight? And I'm very much against it. That's very good. Me too. He writes, her saying things that like that scare the shit out of me, as I never thought she would stoop that low. You see, that's the problem. You're thinking. You need to be knowing. When you marry a woman, you need to know something. You don't need to be thinking about who she is. You need to know as best you can. And that's why the Dr. Phil process is critical. And one thing I've observed is that I'm not seeing you reference any of her history, like whether it's her parents, her behavior with her family, her view of her father, her behavior with her ex-boyfriends. I'm not hearing any reference points. So it sounds like everything's coming out of the blue. And the way you're recounting the story, that's the way it sounds. And I'm assuming that's how you're experiencing these things with her. It's not a good sign. But the beautiful thing is that everything we screw up in life, if you don't die, you get to try it again for the most part. Saint CB writes, Peace of the Saints, No Jumper episode was dope. Appreciate the game, Saint. Truly a pleasure. And thank you for the compliment. Ashley writes, don't date cops. Oh, he's a corrections officer. Same thing. Shorty said, don't date cops. She's an outlaw. She's a thug. Once she saw how badly I tripped over her making that claim, she made about 5 more claims of physical abuse in 1 month. Well, see, you didn't keep your poker face on. That's a problem. You're dealing with a wicked person. As the Master Sun Tzu states, prior information enables. Well, she had a lot of prior information, but what she did is she took all that information on, I pushed this button and he reacts in this way. Oh, I push this button and he goes crazy. Yeah, this is the button I'm going to be pushing. This one right here. But then on the other hand, the question is for you, my boy, what buttons of hers are you pushing? What kind of leverage do you have on her? It seems like you might be in lack of that. We're going to hopefully discover some. But what I've not heard is any true psychological profiling of her. So it seems like you're playing the game blind. It's trying to shoot a basketball from the 3-point line when all the lights in the gym are off. Very difficult to do. He writes, even after cheating, I thought that claiming I was physically abusive was below the belt. Yeah, bro. And you obviously have too much sympathy because, truth be told, even if you cheated on her or not, eh, no trumped up claim is above the belt. No lie is above the belt. You have too much tolerance. Ironically, quote, he writes, ironically, she has gotten physical toward me more than once. Uh-oh. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. You telling me that the 304 is trying to beat you? What is this world coming to? Lord, Lordy Lord. Shout out to Abdullahi. He writes, if a main girl is a little bit dishonest, should you get rid of her? Well, it depends on what you mean by a little bit, and it depends on what she's being dishonest about. For example, I had a main piece. She had a story saying that she had been RAPED'd. And anytime I hear this, I'm always like, okay, what's your story? Does it involve alcohol? Oh, it does. Okay, tell me the story. I'm already kind of like, So, and especially if it's a white girl, truth be told, because they all have a story like this. It's like, why you guys? Strangely, black girls don't have as many stories like this. Latinas don't have as many stories like this. Asian girls don't have as many stories. White girls got a lot of they RAPED'd me. They got a lot of these stories. I hate to say it. Anyway, so the young lady's telling me that she's been victim of this. And so she tells me the story. Now, I am going to listen attentively. And because I'm listening attentively, I will remember distinctly. So I had her recount it to me in as much detail as she could. And one thing we know is sometimes you ask the same question 2 times and you get 2 different answers. A couple of days later, hey, remember you had said that this, and this had happened to you? Hey, tell me that story again. Listen to the story again. Wait. You said that your boyfriend was there. Your boyfriend at the time was there on the trip with you, but you just retold the story and you said he wasn't on the trip. Okay, the first time you told the story, you said that this had happened in the club. The second time you told the story, you said that this was in a private part of the club, like not on the dance floor. Which is it? I say that to say the story got a little sus. Like there was something not adding up. Now, truth be told, sometimes human beings don't remember things accurately. One thing you might be aware of is eyewitness testimony is not always very reliable. And this has been proven in many legal cases. But the greater question is, did it actually occur? The RAPED, did it occur? The other question is like, well, why are the details so fuzzy? Like, are you like trying to make yourself seem more innocent than you were in the situation? I say that to say this. That was a lie and it bothered me a lot. Observing the woman over several years, I didn't find that there were really any other meaningful, significant lies. And I can assure you, boy, oh boy, have I been watching her closely. Very closely. So I say that to say, if it's a small lie about something irrelevant, keep her under the microscope. But I wouldn't kick her to the side because truth is, she's a woman. I mean, they tend to lie to protect their self-esteem. They don't want to look bad in your eyes. So yeah, they're going to lie. Yeah, let's be clear. They're going to lie. It's the size of the lie that matters. And you should certainly call it out when you see it and let them know, like, you can tell me the truth. I'm not judging you. Shout out to Josh. If this is my little partner from the Northeast, shout out. It's good to see you, Saint. Here are submitting yourselves to one another in fear of God. He says she needs the Lord. She needs the Lord. Shout out to Justify supporting the work. Appreciate that. Carrying on. Contacts getting dry out here. So the Saint writes, oh, shout out to Rob. He writes, peace of saints, big homie. How patient would you be with a female trying to meet the program standards? I know a build a B is a bad move, but this female has other strong qualities. Let me tell you this, man. I'm glad you asked me this. Reminds me, as soon as you said this, it made me think of one female in particular straight away. Made me think of one female in particular straight away. It made me think of this little red bone I had in Vegas. She used to claim to be a lot of things. She used to claim that she knows how to follow directions. She used to claim that she's not promiscuous, but has friends that are strippers. She used to claim that she's a good girl and she's looking for marriage. And I was like, boy, you talk a good game. You talk a good game. Let's see if you can talk it like you walk it. I gave her a little bit of time because she was fine. Ooh, she fine. Gave her a little bit of time. And every time I gave her a direction, she would find a way to mess it up. And then I got curious, like, hold on, wait a second. If I keep giving you directions and you keep messing it up, that indicates that you don't know how to follow directions. But the thing that really disturbed me is not only would she fail to follow the directions, she always had a story. And that's what kept making me give her a little bit more time. And then I realized, oh, your stories, oh, these are excuses and these are lies. So I can't keep buying these. And I'm gonna tell you the last one that she told me that when I had to cut her off. I had the situation. She had came through to my spot on the strip. So she come through to the suite. I think I can't even remember if I had maxed her out or what exactly was the situation. I know I was really sleepy because I'd been working a lot. So I don't remember if I maxed her out or not. But whatever the case was, we go to sleep, wake up a couple hours later. She had some friends in town that she had to go catch up with, and she had wanted me to come with her. I was like, in my head, I was like, Shorty, I'm not even sold on you. I for sure am not about to go meet your friends because I'm convinced they're idiots. I'm not even sure you're not an idiot. So I'm not about to go hang out with them. No way. And so she's getting dressed and everything and trying to get ready. And while she's in the process of getting ready to go hang out with her friends, go to breakfast with her friends, I go ahead and say, I think we all know not to mention other content creators on my live. So you will be blocked. I just actually timed someone out. I probably should have blocked them because they knew better, but you will be blocked. None of these people matter to me. Anyways, so she's in the process of getting ready to go have breakfast with one of her girlfriends, or actually it was a couple, it was a girlfriend and her boyfriend. And I said, I was like, come here. I want you to do this. And so I named a particular thing I wanted her to do physically right in that moment. And then like she had laid down and like, kind of like act like she was about to do it and eventually didn't end up doing it and then leaves, right? And then she had hit my line later on that day. And I was like, Shorty, can you please stop contacting me? Like, I'm turbo done with you. She was like, what? Why? I was like, I specifically asked you to do this and you didn't do it. And she was like, oh, that's because, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly what it was because it was funny. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think I told her, I was like, I want you to, excuse my French, but I said, I want you to like look me in my eyes and tell me this and jerk me off. I told her this, right? And she says to me, this is comedy. She says, I couldn't do it because we haven't both gotten tested and I can't give you oral if you haven't gotten tested. I was like, no, I said, jerk me off. That's not giving oral. She was like, yeah, but aren't you expected to give oral if you jerk someone off? I was like, number one, no. Like I said, jerk me off. I didn't say give me head. I said jerk me off. And then number two, the reality is, regardless, Shorty, like I ain't got time for all your BS. Like you're over here making up lies. I clearly told you what to do, and you're acting like you didn't understand the directions. I was like, there's no way you're an adult female living in Las Vegas and you don't know what it means if someone says jerk me off. There's no way you didn't comprehend that. I was like, what you're doing right now is an excuse. Now, here's the sad thing. In her sick mind, she might actually believe this lie. But all it is her subconscious finding a way for her to not do what you asked her to do. It's willful or it's subconscious defiance, and it will go on indefinitely. So if she is taking too long to get with the program, it's either an indication that she has oppositional defiant disorder, or she too stupid, or there's something else. There's some other reason she doesn't have enough respect for you. And women are strange because there was a time I had a female and I'd stopped messing with her for a time. And I started messing with her again. And this is when I was a youngster. And I was like, tell me everything you did while I wasn't messing with you. This is when I was young and stupid, inexperienced in the game. And she had said to me, oh, well, I was dealing with this one guy. I said, well, what'd you do? And then she's like, oh, I did this and I did that. And I was like, well, why didn't you do this? She was like, oh, I didn't feel like he was like that. Like he was not important enough for me to do that with him. Which is to say, they're females. They're like, yeah, I'll give the brain to this guy, but I won't give the brain to you. Like you ain't that. So there may be some reason that she's withholding things or trying to play with you, but don't let Shorty play with you. You heard me? Keep them on a short rope. And if you find that she can't get with the program, she can't get right, she got to get left. If the game is Simon Says and she don't know who Simon is, yeah, go ahead, put her on timeout. Limited association. She's a side piece. You dig? She's a jump off. Can't be nothing more than that. Shout out to Justified writes thoughts on pay for play. Okay, I'm assuming he's saying using prostitutes. I don't enjoy the dating game. Pay for play is time efficient. I'm working on myself financially, looks, fashion, and fitness wise. Ah, look, I don't fundamentally believe what you've written here. So I'll say this. What do I think of pay for play? If that's what you want to do, I mean, do what you do. But I don't think anyone wants to do that. So there are many men who do it, but there are no men who want to do it. And what I mean is this. If you're pay for play, you're dealing with a prostitute, which a prostitute's not going to have intercourse with you like you matter. She's going to have intercourse with you generally as efficiently as possible to get you out the way, get on to the next John or the next trick. That's number one. You might have a rare instance where you have a chick who's like a good actress, but most importantly, if you really want to enjoy the sex act, you're gonna have to wear a condom dealing with a pay for play girl. You're not going to be able to engage in proper oral copulation if you want to, go down on her or have her go down on you without a condom. It's not really a safe thing to do. And I know people do it. It's called girlfriend experience, where you kiss the girl while you're having intercourse. Now, I don't like kissing normal women, square girls. For sure, I'm not about to kiss a prostitute. That's outrageous. It's not even a concept. But I say that to say, if you're engaging in pay for play, you might feel the need to kiss the girl, and that's not even something you can do. So you're engaging in a process that's fairly empty. You can't. Yes, you get to have intercourse and you get to reach orgasm, but you're not getting to have the fullness of the experience. And I'm not saying there's anything necessarily just straight up evil about it, but you lose a little bit of your soul each time you go through that process, and I would recommend against it. I understand there's efficiency there. Hey, if that's where you're at in the moment, carry on. But the truth is, I think that all of us, male and female, we're actually always searching for something greater, like true love, true affection. And I would hope that you do continue pursuing that. I don't know exactly what you mean by the dating game, but the nature of dating is reflective of the nature of the girl, right? So if you don't like the way the girl would like to engage the dating process, pick a different girl. And that means you need to just be spending a lot of game. Thank you for your question. I think that this is something that ails a lot of mankind. And I actually have a unfortunate story about a gentleman I met this morning who I helped out. I probably shouldn't have helped out. I violated three sentence Bible, which is the last sentence, be good to good people. I didn't know him from Adam, but I did him a major favor, which could have put me at risk, still could. But he had a situation like this where he probably might have been involved in some pay for play, and he suffered greatly. I might do a whole separate live about that one. But thank you for your question. And that's why we read his, because he had came in at the threshold. Deeply goaded writes, how would you increase leverage and control over a woman who is interested in you? I'm dealing with a woman who is highly influenced by her sister. That's not going to change. So number one, you already in your mind have to know that this is not a main piece. There is a personality in the female. You see, there's a personality in the female that prioritizes the opinions and perspectives and the will of the male and of the man. That's a personality trait. You're not going to change a personality trait where you have a female who is, the one who prioritizes the group, or prioritizes what culture or society says, or prioritizes the opinions of other women. You're not going to change that inclination in that female. I know I've tried many times in my youth. So I'd probably just say, okay, this girl's going to be a side piece. I'm going to influence her as best I can. But you also have to ask yourself, well, what are you trying to achieve? Like what bit of influence are you trying to get in this girl? What behavioral outcome are you seeking? So those are my questions to you. Shout out to Subadai. He writes, say you're dealing with a chick on a relationship level, but no title. Interesting. If there are no clear cut rules, just expectations, is it fair to judge her for giving dome while you two stop talking for 2 weeks? Peace of the Saints. Dang. Look, number one, number one, if a girl told you she just gave dome, could be the least of what she did. I mean, let's be real here, right? Certainly the female is really good at minimizing things, making them sound not as bad as they really are. She specializes in half truths. So if she said, "Oh, I just gave him head," okay, yeah, she didn't mention the part where he had her, she giving him brain, but she was butt naked and he was treating her like a bowling ball. You did, he had 3 fingers in there, man, 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. She ain't mentioned that one. So I say that to say, number one, she probably lying, just off rip. That doesn't mean she's a bad person. She probably lying. But she probably better off than a lot of girls who would have just claimed, I haven't done anything. No, I've been at home praying. I've been at home in deep prayer and meditation, hoping you would come back to me. So at least she told you something. That's number one. And we've all been lied to by a female, believe that. Now, when you say there's no title, the title doesn't actually define the rules. You got to sit down with the female and talk through that. That's a personal thing. One of the greatest dangers we can do is think that the title has a clear set of rules that comes with it. Because when you take on the title, or even when you don't have a title, you're basically leaving it up to assumption. Well, what does she assume it means? You don't want to do that. Because I've heard, you guys probably heard several times on the channel, we have a young lady on who's clearly a 304, and let somebody call her a 304, she's like, me? Yeah, you a slore. You're a cold slore. What? You're a slore. None of them think they are, which is to say that based on their definition of slore, the one that they got from the society, they're not a slore. Now, they probably couldn't tell you what a slore is. Probably don't exist, like Bigfoot or like a unicorn. So I say that to say, should you judge her? In your head, maybe, yeah. Should you tell her? No. Because at the end of the day, if you guys stop talking, by stop talking, does that mean stopped communicating? Or does that mean you said, hey, we're going to go on a break? Like, I'm not messing with you. If it's just stop communicating for 2 weeks, then I feel like she kind of grimy for that. She not wrong, but she's grimy. And based on that griminess, I probably wouldn't want her as my main piece, because it's like, dang, shorty, like in 2 weeks, you found somebody to give brain to? Like, did you already know, homie? Like, was he in line? As soon as I got out of the game, he got in the game? Like, how'd that happen so fast, shorty? It get like that. 2023 out here. I guess it's 2022, but you get the point. It's right around the corner. CB wrote, condoms break. Don't lay down with filth. He's right. They don't break a lot. I've only broken 2 in my life. The first one I broke when I was 16. It was on actually like a cougar, actually. And then the second one I broke as an adult. It was a very unfortunate situation. Unfortunate in as much as I was like, dang, of all the chicks to break on, not you. No. But the fact is, yeah, it does occur. But at the end of the day, it's not only the fact that you're putting yourself at physical risk, it's the spiritual degradation you experience in laying down with these low personalities. That's what it really is. Carrying on. Shout out to Mr. Williams, came to my Cash App. He writes, drop that 304. Now, I do want to say, at some level, you got to be careful because, if you're dating in America, in the West, in India, or if you're dating a girl that lives in a major city, you're dating a girl who's not religious, that there's just like no reason for her to not do certain behaviors. You have to tolerate something. You just have to pick your poison, right? You have to figure out what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to believe in her. Can you believe that she's not going to be stepping out on you? Can you believe that if you guys have a disagreement, she's not going to go find another penis to suck? Like, can you believe that? And then based on that, make some boss moves. Oh, by the way, shout out to the ballers. Baller alert. Hayden writes, well overdue tuition. I'm 18. Oh, shout out to the young baller. He said, I'm 18. Got a lot of cats are 30. They watching, they ain't never supported. Shout out to you, right? So I'm 18 years old and I've been watching for the past 8 months. Okay. The knowledge is always appreciated, especially as a young man in the digital age. It is a unique age. It can be hard to find consistent information based on good moral values. You ain't never lied. Peace of the saints. Indeed, including the religious sources. I mean, they're so inconsistent. I saw a religious post from a woman on Instagram, and I had noted she was leading a prayer, a very long-winded prayer. And I just noted, I try not to do this, but I noted that the Bible states that women are not meant to lead prayer or to preach, which is a fact. And a lot of people liked it. A few women and a few bisexual males took issue with the post. But it's clear as day in the Bible. It says multiple passages or multiple scriptures that they should learn in silence, that they should defer to their man, that they should not try to be the leader or usurp the authority of men, that if they need to learn something, they should ask the husband, that they should be silent in the church, that they should wear a head covering when they pray. You see, this woman was praying and leading prayer, no hair covering. It was completely out of order. I say that to say, people are not following their book. And also the book is not clear. People don't understand the book. The book is not clear. So yes, it is. We are in need of a secular morality. Abdullahi writes, she responded to a work colleague. I checked her phone. She told him, I have a man, but he is friendly. She hasn't told me and she hasn't shut him down good. Is this connected to a previous super chat, maybe? This got to be connected to a previous super chat. I feel like I'm missing some information here. He writes, the earlier super chat writes, if a man girl is a little bit dishonest, should you get rid of her? Okay, all right. And now the context is, she responded to a work colleague. I checked her phone. You probably don't want to do that. She told him, I have a man. That's respectable. But he is friendly. You're saying the work colleague is still being friendly? They do that. She hasn't told me and she hasn't shut him down good. Oh, so you checked her phone, but she doesn't know you checked her phone. Is that what I'm picking up? Okay. Well, respect to her for being honest and saying she has a man. If she hasn't been clear in shutting him down, that's a problem. And it's also necessary that that happens. You might want to give her a little bit of guidance on that. There's nothing wrong with that. Let her know where your standards are. And even before you do that, I would actually try to ask her, if a guy comes at you in this way, how would you respond? Or what do you think is appropriate? Like, how clear should the shutdown be? And you also have to respect the fact that people do need to get along cordially with their colleagues. And you also have to be aware of the reality that men are always trying to slide. You heard me? I don't like my women working with men. Yeah, I'm going to keep it sanely with you. Yeah, lady saints, I don't like them working with men. I think they should be working either not at all, either working within your house or working for you or working remotely or working with other women or working with children, not with men. It's not right. It's just not right. It's never going to go well. It's never going to go well. Shout out to Harry. He writes, peace to the saints. We might have another roast pending. Freezes it is live now talking bad about you. The funny thing is but what can these people say? What can they say? Now, the sad thing is I think nowadays I'm like, you know what? I'm getting big out here. Should I give them any airtime? You feel what I'm saying? I was like, should I give them any airtime? Because when I mention them, now I'm bringing them into the mainstream. I was like, should I just leave these boys in the dust? Because one thing I like when I was on No Jumper, they mentioned one of these little rascals. And I was like, see, this little rascal, he'll never make it on the No Jumper. He got mentioned because I'm here. But if I wasn't here, he'll never be mentioned. I was like, I don't know if I want to give him any light like that. I think I want to just leave him in the dark and in the dirt. You feel what I'm saying? I'm going to ponder on it. It might be possible. You never know. But every now and then I like to chop heads off. You never know. Shout out to Rakely Swimming. He writes, how can I be an effective player when she discovers I check her, quote, relationship boxes too? They are DTF, see my place, conclude I have my ish together, then play innocent. Yes, they do. Becoming a frequent hang up. Peace to the saints. Bruh, you ain't never lied. And as I say, if they want to stay with you, they have to play with you. If they want to stay with you, they have to play with you. So what they're going to do when they realize, like, okay, this guy, he's the height I want, good looking guy. Like, oh man, this is a nice place. This is comfortable. Then they want to make sure that they look innocent. So what you have to do is preemptively hit them with a little bit of game, right? Which is number one, to create the psychological conditioning of, hey, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to play games with any woman. I am seeking the deeper value that you have, but I also want to be physically satisfied. And if we put that off just to play games and just so that you could look innocent, I'm still going to have that need. So being that I'm trying to mess with you, it'd be wise if you satisfy that need. Now find a way to just pepper that into conversation. Not all of it at once, but pepper it in the most subtle and most low key of ways. And then when it's time, press her physically, but don't try to talk yourself into the vagina. You dig? So don't ever let her feel like you're talking about her and you. Make it feel like every once in a while that you're just indicating, like during conversation, like, oh man, that's crazy how, like, chicks pretend as though they're not adults. You're like 26, you're 30 years old, and you're interested in the guy, but you're trying to hold off on sex. That's kind of weird to me. And then carry on to the, oh yeah, the San Francisco 49ers are playing tonight. Oh man, I love Captain Colin Kaepernick. I wish he was in the game. You heard me? Just go straight on to the next thing. So you're just implanting a couple seeds there. So find a clever way to do that. But yeah, you're right. You've observed a real phenomena. None of the above 101 writes, can you expound on the spiritual degradation dealing with ladies of the night? Also, I had to take magic from my all-time list of Skittle eating. I had to take. Oh, yeah, that was crazy. I mean, this is just a speculation. I think that it's really an abomination to accuse someone of guzzling Skittles. So we probably shouldn't accuse Magic of guzzling Skittles with no evidence. I mean, his son is indeed a Skittle guzzler, but we don't have any evidence on Magic, so we just gonna have to, leave it at it's inconclusive. Okay, we're gonna just say it's inconclusive and hope that it's not true. So he writes, can you expound on the spiritual degradation dealing with ladies of the night? Well, number one, the truth of where you encounter these females, everything about it is a degrading experience. Number one, you know that the girl's laid down with many men, so you're not special. She's going to treat you as such. Number two, being that she's laid down with many men, I mean, let's be real here. What lady of the night are people dealing with that's actually showering and properly cleaning in between these experiences? Probably nearly none, especially, and the irony is, the more attractive she is, theoretically, she'd get more business. The less attractive she is, the lower the price is. So theoretically, she'd get a good amount of business. So it's just a kind of all bad on both ends. Furthermore, if you're in the United States, you're putting yourself at risk of arrest when you're engaging in this process. You're probably going to be doing it in a seedy area. You're going to be doing it in your car. Hopefully you're not buying a hotel to do this kind of thing. You're increasing your costs. Hopefully you're not going to her hotel that she has set up, because who knows how many guys can lay down on those sheets, right? You laying down on nut stains and some more stuff. All of those things are degrading experiences that, generally you don't want to be a part of. I know a lot of guys suffer this kind of thing. It happens. And, I'm not here to look down on anyone. I'm just saying that for your own sake, it's something to be avoided. And, you'll be better at avoiding it when you're doing your 3-a-days and you get that roster nice and large, like we all should have it. Saint RE says, give them no light, Saint. You right, bro. I'm going to just let them keep promoting the big homie, man. And the other thing we also have to think about is, like, they know, like, y'all not on my level, man. Like, I'm a boss. Like, y'all are little dirt balls on the internet, man. Like, I'm gonna let y'all keep giving me promo, and I don't even want to mention y'all name because it's not gonna do anything for me. You dig? It's not gonna do anything for me. So next time somebody like like Destiny I could tangle with, you dig? Because there's a little bit of juice there. Somebody meaningful mention my name, we can do something. 18 Saints writes, was debating on how cyborg prostitution will destroy our society. What are your thoughts, Peace of Saints? People, humankind never ceases to amaze me. If you guys tuned into that session earlier with Jessica Vaughn, and if you guys didn't watch it, go through and watch it. Go through and watch it, okay? And it's going to teach you a lot about human nature and male nature. We can be very despicable as men. And that's some of the importance of why, we have the assassin to be able to express ourselves, to have someone to, hear us out and also keep us in line. You heard me? When we need to be checked. Yeah, that's your man if he's willing to check you, if he's willing to check on you, and if he's willing to help you make a check. That's your man's. Because sometimes we need to be checked. And there's a lot of out of control, ill-advised things that guys think and do. And so initially, when someone wrote cyborg prostitution, I'd honestly be like, that's ludicrous. Who's going to do that? But in a society such as this, it's not beyond possibility. And that's why it's so urgent, the work that we're doing. So I think society's already in decay, and we got to get to work. And we can win. It can be done. Anything can be done. Stop playing, Trey writes. Peace and saints. You said, quote, I don't like my females to work with men. I really don't. You dig? I really don't. He writes, and I feel the same way. When telling your girl you want her to work remotely, should you tell her why or just tell her to find a remote job? Well, see here, you don't want to have to change a female's program. The most beautiful outcome you could get with a woman is when you lead her on a thought journey, and she comes up on her own, or at least feels like she came up on her own with the right answer. There's some women, it's in their nature. I know a woman in particular I'm thinking of right now. She don't like to talk to men. She don't like to answer the door. She's the first one to tell you like, oh, it's a man. Like, why don't you have this conversation? And a lot of Muslim women are like this. A lot of Jewish women are like this. A lot of religious women, like in the real religions, the ones where they actually follow it. So if I wasn't too deep in with this girl, I try to find one who's like a little closer to that. If I was deep in with this girl, I would kind of talk through the situation and see if it makes sense to her. But remember that a lot of women, they get their social time at work. So you have to understand, is this girl an extrovert, like a real extrovert? Is she an introvert? Is she in between? And also, does she look at me as a major source of her social life? Does she have a good female friend group? These are all things you need to be aware of if you're going to make a major restructuring in her life. Did I get that whole thing? Cool. He said she needs to find a remote job. He's ready to change everything. Shout out to Sorrow. He writes, I don't think we should talk about Freeze. I heard he was a fake P who got caught with a kid. I'm not surprised. I mean, I know I'm on the right track because every time somebody comes after me and we look into their background, it's consistently pedophilia. Consistently. And I'm showing you guys the evidence every single time. When we talked about the first guy who I won't bring up, I showed you guys a news article of him way over in that other country engaging in that. Then there was the second guy. Who was the second person I had to blow out? Pause. You dig? Pause. Then we looked at Sinful to P. In his court case, you heard the judge out of her mouth say, you impregnated a child. Yeah, she was 14 when she had the baby, 13 when you were having intercourse with her. What? He's a pedophile, boy. And it goes on and on every single time. We're talking about molestiny, and we played the clips. There was another female YouTuber who was playing the clips. I was just showing what she showed. She playing the clips of him talking about pedophilia being all good. So it's constantly these people who are really sick perverts, evil demons out here. So now I wouldn't be surprised because his main buddy sleeps with children and gets them pregnant. And you even heard Charleston White point this out about Pitiful the pedophile. So it's not surprising that his little butt buddy also does the same thing. Yeah, it's not even worth me to talk about it because it's like, who are these guys? Jailbergs and pedos. He writes, and hanging out with another P who also got caught with a kid. Exactly. He writes, and there's a video of them harassing women. Not surprised. Not surprised. That's not the pimpin'. Not surprised. Oh, yeah, by the way, forget these little dirt balls on the internet. Shout out to the ballers. And by dirt balls, I'm talking about these boys that try to put my name in a title to make some money. They try to put my name in a title to get some views, run their views up. Man, make your own content. Shout out to the ballers of or the win. Oh, excuse me. Oh, for the win. I think that's supposed to be. Quote, my friend's fiance has been causing him problems like drama at work events. Oh, no, 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 baby. Don't you ever get in the way of the money. Being mad if he doesn't come home in a timely manner. She already out of control. Being openly disrespectful. I hope by openly that doesn't mean in the public. Just causing him stress every day. That's ironic because the woman is supposed to be the coolness of your eyes. When you do come home, at whatever time you come home, she should be thankful that you're there and should really be trying to say, you know what? How do I cool him out from today? How do I do that? That should be her job. He further writes, is there anything I can do to help him? Well, is there anything you can do? Probably not. Should you want to get involved in that? Probably not. You see, that's his affair. You might one time ask him, being that it's his fiance, you might just have a serious conversation over a meal and say, I'm only going to ask you this one time because I don't want to cause problems in your relationship and I don't want to shake up your mindset or your certainty about your path. But now you are you are engaged, you're not married. Before you get married, know that things generally will not get better. It's the honeymoon phase, right? The early part of the relationship, that's the passionate part. Things won't get better. They'll either maintain or they'll probably decline, but they're not going to get better. She's not going to be more beautiful to you. She's not going to be more physically attractive. She's not going to become a new great woman. She's going to go through menopause. She's going to get older. Things are going to not get better. Based on who she is now, do you want this for the rest of your life? Do you want to lock yourself into a situation to where if you have to get divorced later, now you need to figure out, well, how do we sell this house? Now I got to give her all this stuff. I got to pay alimony. Oh, I had a kid with her. I got to be connected to her for my whole life. I'm just asking you. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but I'm just asking you as a friend to think about this before you go farther. And if you have an answer now, cool. Let's talk about it. I'm here to listen. If you want to think about it and we can have another meal a week from now or a couple of days from now, we can talk about it. But whenever you say the conversation is done, it's done. I'll never bring it up again. At most, I would do that. At most. But 9 out of 9 is not really your business. So there you go. 9 out of 9. Abdullahi comes back. He writes, I acted dumb and asked her, how would you respond if a work colleague hit on you? And she said, I wouldn't respond, but it isn't what I saw. Then have a conversation with her. The thing that is unfortunate is that I don't know if you like snuck in her phone or how you saw this. Certainly that's going to degrade a bit of the respect that she has for you. But at the end of the day, rather than harboring these unfortunate emotions, I would either like really get hard on that Dr. Phil process and say, hey, have any of your employees or colleagues flirted with you? Have they said, this or that? Have you had to tell anyone I have a boyfriend? Have that conversation. That's pretty much all there is now, is to have the conversation. In the future, though, I probably wouldn't look through her stuff because now you have something on your mind other than your money. You have something on your mind other than your business. You have something on your mind other than your big goals. And here's the thing, that could be nothing. You heard me? He could be the little homie. He could be such a non-factor that he's like, hey, let me take you out to dinner. She's like, yeah, next time. And to her, she's not even paying him any attention. But now that you done went through her phone and you don't have any context and you're bringing this up, now you might look jealous. You might look controlling. You might look like one who invades her privacy. And now it's just causing issues that didn't have to occur because the dude who was like texting her all these flirtations, he's an 18-year-old kid that just happens to work in the office and he's a total non-factor. So these are just things these are problems you don't want to create. But at this point, you got to have the conversation. And let me give you some advice. Be calm during the conversation. Listen to what she's saying during the conversation. Don't flip out. Don't get angry. It will not be helpful, okay? Not to you. Shout out to None of the Above comes right back. He writes, Thank you for that, for the articulate response, Mr. Burton. On the matter of magic, he's covered in blood and wields a knife, but I can't say he's guilty. ah, hey, get like that. Hey, get like that. I'm trying not to throw that abomination on anybody. Because with regards to magic, I mean, he is a public figure and has been for longer than we've been alive, and there's no evidence. So you got to, at some level, say, like, that's impressive. I mean, consider this. I'm nowhere near as famous as Magic Johnson. Man, people recognize me in Mumbai, India, in Switzerland, in UK, in Tanzania, in Zanzibar, and I'm nobody, right? So to think that a guy as famous as Magic Johnson could engage in homosexual antics and not be found out over all this time, I mean, either he's really sharp or somebody lying, like I don't know. So I'm not gonna throw that on me. But I hear you. I ain't gonna throw that on me. Zay Druid, good to hear from you. Writes, Peace of Saints. How do you be persistent with a woman you're interested in while keeping it player? Number one, keeping it player is a way you do things, right? Two people can do things. It's the how of how you did it and the spirit at which you came at her. Number one, like say you're keeping it persistent via text, which I hope is not the case. That'd be an unfortunate thing. You really want to think about, okay, when you're saying something to her, let's make sure that my text messages are not longer than her text messages. And if she's not asking the question back, let's let it air out a little bit before I hop back on it. But ideally, you want to spit your game in person and you want to have fun with it and enjoy it as you're going through the process. That's a critical piece to it. And, I really do need to do a couple more player stories and go through a little bit of text message. There's a young lady recently, I basically had to get at a couple of them foul because sometimes the chick is being standoffish, and it's not because she ain't feeling you. Oh, she feeling you, but she playing games. You hear me? And every now and then, you just got to tell her what it is. Like, yo, shorty, when you don't quit playing games and just be my B. You hear me? And when I say B, I'm telling her the real word. I'm trying not to say it on YouTube, and they just got to respect it every now and then. You dig? So don't do it on text. If you do it on text, be very brief. If she's not asking you the question back, come back to it a couple of days later. Ideally, spit your game in person. Persistence overcomes resistance. Make sure that you're engaging it with a spirit of fun and you're enjoying the process and you're letting her know that you're not deterred by it. Now, if she begins to get to a point to where she's acting like she's showing visible anger or annoyance, you might be out the game. You hear me? If you can't get her to laugh and chuckle about it, you might be out the game. He writes, how would you play it before and after the first date? Oh, you already went out on a date with her. Oh, man. So if you went out on a date with her, and I'd be curious as to if you pressed her physically. If you pressed her physically, I'd be curious as to what the response was. If you didn't press her physically, that might have been part of the problem. Shout out to Rakely Swimming. He writes, thank you for the game. I will pepper it in. Much better than the irritation I get realizing she thinks I'm some dweeb who doesn't get the game. Insulting. Oh, indeed. Yeah, pepper it in and then go ahead and press her physically. You dig? Oh, for the win, writes. I only asked because I have had the conversation with him because he came to me for advice. Okay. He says she is doing better about it. Therapy, being mindful of words, drinking. Oh no, these are all bad. I'm worried this improvement is temporary. It is. It is temporary. You kidding me? Thank you, Peace of Saints. Because here's the thing. If things were not going well in their relationship, you really shouldn't even know. A lot of people have challenges in their relationship because we're human beings. But when there's enough challenges that is clear to the public, just imagine what's going on in private behind closed doors. Just imagine. Come on, man. I mean, like, for example, you look at DJ Fatademics, you saw that outburst in the public where the chick took his hat off and threw it, and he's yelling at her, she's yelling at him, he didn't push her against the wall. That's in public. In private, it's litty. So clearly he has some major issues on his hands, but here's the thing. They say if that hoe can't swim, she bound to drown. Same thing goes for dudes when they want to act like hoes. You dig? You got to let him drown. Can't save him. It just is what it is. I mean, you can wish the best for somebody, but if they don't want it for themselves, hey, you got to let them walk their road. Be yourself. Be good to yourself. That's first and foremost. Be good to good people. You gave it a shot. He couldn't take it. Let him live his life. You got to be yourself. You also have to let him be himself. Shout out to Isaiah coming by Cash App, writes, respect. Thank you, sir. Xavier writes, great content. Thank you very much. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And I pride myself on having content. I'm like the only guy out here anymore that has content. Everybody else's content is about somebody else. Oh, by the way, people mentioned that there was, speaking of such, people mentioned that there is a interview between Alex Jones and Kanye. If that is the case, will someone DM that link to me on Instagram? Because I couldn't find the original. And I'd like to look at the original one if someone could shoot that to me. It's real words from a real man. Shout out to the folks who got the black box on Amazon. You dig? The real ones. Carrying on. Saints, I'll give you a little bit of time. Oh, yeah, I didn't even actually finish going through. Like this man, I didn't finish go through. We need to get back at this. So the Saint, he writes, she has gotten physical toward me more than once. These are quote, I'm quoting right now. She has thrown an object at me. Oh, wow. And pushed behind me while I was going down the stairs. Bruh, she tried to body you. What? She tried to push you down some stairs. That's an attempt right there, man. Oh, man. She has laid behind me in bed, placing her face directly behind my head. And then once I moved my head backwards, she claimed I intentionally headbutted her. Very weird. Each time she does this, it scares me. I got to the point I had to text my sister each individual lie so my sister could document her claims. Well, number one, you should be documenting these claims because this is your freedom. Don't you ever leave something so critical as your freedom to someone else's, care and responsibility. That's number one. Then number two, if I were you, I'd be trying to, place some cameras inside of the home so that you can get some of this abuse on video, because I'll be very persuasive when you go to court. And to be honest with you, from the sounds of things, you're going to have to go to court, whether it's for the divorce or something more despicable. And so you want to be able to show that footage of her yelling and cursing, degrading you, calling you gay slurs, and also physically accosting you. That's going to be very helpful to whatever you're trying to do. So I would absolutely make a little small investment in getting a camera set up. And even if you got to, kind of set up the situation for it to occur, you're going to need that footage because you're going to be disadvantaged in the legal system. There's just no doubt about it. And some of the things you're saying are crazy enough that it's easy for people to say, I don't believe it. Especially if it's a female judge, it's easy for her to say, I don't believe it. I mean, you're a grown man saying that a woman was physically abusing you. It just doesn't sound right, even though it does occur probably more than we all realize. The Saint further writes, for the sake of time, I won't even get into my wife standing over me while I'm texting family members, her blocking me from leaving the house. How'd she do that? Quote, knowing that I'm scared to push past her because she'll claim it's abuse. Yeah, so basically she's pulled your hoe card. And what I mean by that is she knows where your limit is. You're going to really love this next video. For all the members at patreon.com/the Saint the Center, you're going to love the next video I do for the members. It really addresses this situation. But yeah, she basically, she found out where your limits are. And so she's basically about to play you based on her having a true understanding of where your limits are. And one thing you'll hear me say often is I pride myself on my ruthlessness. No one can accurately estimate what I'm liable to do. And that's great. That's great. And the truth of the matter is that I can scarcely estimate what I'm liable to do. You guys may have been on the most recent live I did at my studio. If you remember, when I was at my studio, someone had sent in a super chat and they said, hey, Marquett, if somebody tried to rob you for your, I think they said if somebody tried to rob you for your jewelry, what would you do? And I said, the right thing to do would probably be to just give it to them. He said if they had guns and they tried to rob you for your jewelry, what would you, or I forget if it was guns or a knife. I don't remember. I said the right thing to do is probably just give it up. I said, I can't say right now because I'm not in that situation, but I feel like while I'm calm, I'd want to just give it up. That'd be the smart thing to do. And then you heard my assistant who was there and has known me for a long time. And she says, no, that's not true. That's not what you would do. I was like, well, that's what I would want to do. She's like, yeah, but you would not do that. You would not do that. And she's observed me enough times to see that at sometimes I think I'm a react calm, but I can't psychologically accept certain forms of disrespect. I was just conditioned a certain way, and it's just I can't change that. So I say that to say, when you're like that, people are not going to play games with you very much because they know you're probably going to go the whole mile. And most people don't want to go the whole mile. They want to go like half the mile, three quarters of the mile. They don't want to go the whole mile. There's just a couple people want to go the whole mile. But once somebody figure out that you won't go the whole mile, they're going to play games with you. They're going to play games with you. Absolutely. That's a problem. Shout out to Mr. Moore. He writes, Peace of the Saints. I hope all has been well, Mr. Burton. What is your perspective on seriously dating a young lady who wasn't raised by any solid male influence? That's something you have to take into consideration. And you also need to observe who she is today. And also, you might want to put a little bit of flame to her and see how she reacts in situations of anger, disappointment, things like that. Make a study of her. He writes, it seems that she has a moderate disdain for men. Okay, I'm done. There you go. Look, if there's a moderate disdain for men, it ain't moderate. If you were able to sense it, it's there. And there's a lot more underneath that, okay? So this is a side piece. Done. This is a side piece. Because even women who don't say they have a disdain for men might have a disdain for men. So this is a side piece. We done here. That's a side piece. Shout out to Johnny supporting the work. Appreciate that. So one thing that I'm enjoying is I'm trying to learn how to operate appropriately in my position, right? And positions change in life. And I remember the homie had told me a while back, and I really need to take this to heart. He said, like a lot of these internet nerds, he's like, I know what you're about. He's like, I've seen your work. I know what you're about, but they don't know. And regardless, like y'all are not cut from the same cloth. So you don't even need to respond to them because it's internet stuff and you're a real life kind of person. I was like, this is true. And so I say that to say, as my profile raises, what I got to remember, like, is it like, ask yourselves, all of you guys, ask yourselves, is it interesting to you? I go on No Jumper, one of the biggest platforms in our space, in the hip hop culture, in the African American culture, in the manosphere. I go on No Jumper, and then all of a sudden, some little dirty nerds want to make videos about me. All of a sudden, right after I'm on No Jumper, nah, it's not a surprise. And so what I got to do is remember that the reason they're talking about me is because I'm winning. And so rather than like take any time to give them some light and help them win, rather than do that, nah, I'm gonna leave them nameless and brainless and keep winning. You dig? So we gonna just try to just leave them down there in a real way. We gonna leave them down there. I ain't gonna help. I'm about to help them get on No Jumper. We gonna leave them down there. If somebody mention my name with the big guys. You dig? Mention my name with the DJ Fatademics. Mention my name with the Molestinies, the guys who got millions of subscribers. I'm your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. So when you want to mention my name, mention me with those big guys. These little nuts, we're going to leave them in the dust. You heard me? We're going to leave them down there. That's the strategy. That's the plan. That's how we move it. We ain't even going to say their names. And by the way, shout out to my mods. I need to add some more mods real quick because I feel like the mods was slacking today. I heard a lot of names of irrelevant people being mentioned, completely irrelevant people who wear bad suits. Give me a second. Let me add some more mods. And by the way, before somebody say that they're a P, can I see you in a good suit just one time, please? Please, please, please. Let me go through see who we can mod up real quick. Let me just mod up one person just so I know let's mod up one person out here. Then we're gonna get back to this game. They won't even let me scroll back. Huh. Okay. Yeah, but There we go. So we just modded up Rakely swimming, you dig? Now let's get back to this work. Let's get back to this work. And you know, the one challenge I have is we all know that I like to slap helmets off. We all know I like to slap helmets off. We all know. But I have to be mindful of not slapping the helmets off of these nobodies because I'm doing them a favor. I can't be doing that out here. But tell these boys that's going live about the big homie, tell them if they send me a fee, I might be willing to do it. I might be willing to do it. This is good. This is really good. I'm enjoying it. And one thing I want to let all of you guys know, if you ever saw that movie American Gangster, right? There's a time, talk to me, Hustlers HQ, right? The suit with the gold buttons, the custom shoes, you dig? They was, bro, how, look, I'm trying to figure out if you can hate on that, you can hate on anything. I got the suit handmade from scratch, none before, none to come. It's a one of one, designed it from my own mind down to the buttons, you heard me? Asymmetrical lace up on the jacket. Everything cut like a glove. The Scooby-Doos are custom, you heard me? The watch custom with my initials in the watch. The canary diamonds on the joint. How you hate? Hating's getting to an unreasonable level. It's getting unreasonable. That's crazy. If they can hate on that, they can hate on anything, man. I can't. Look, let me get back to the topic at hand. Let me get back to the topic at hand. Please, 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 please. Oh, man, we getting back to it. Shout out to Johnny. He writes, I'm paying tuition, just bought your book. Do you believe there's a single mom epidemic? What we got to focus on is, not being a part of that. But yeah, it's increasingly occurring for sure. And there's a lack of shame. I like to call them lonely mothers. And we have to reestablish that this is not an ideal state. Back to the saint who sent in his question. So here we are, quote, for the sake of time, I won't even get into my wife standing over me while I'm texting family members, her blocking me from leaving the house, her unlocking the door when I'm using the bathroom. See, this dude is a better man than me because there's certain things to where I might have just blacked out and just hauled off. There's no way you're going to disturb me when I'm in the bathroom. This is a very private space. One thing about me, I don't even shower with broads. A lot of y'all want to act like you in a music video, you showering with the broad. Nah, shorty, like you clean yourself, get up out. I'm going to go clean myself. Cleanliness is a serious, sacred thing. I'm not about to be playing games in here. You under the hot water. I'm standing off to the side. We got to switch around. Nah, we ain't playing like that. We need to be serious about cleaning. I need you to clean your butt crack at a level that, like, you need to be thorough enough when you clean it to where it shouldn't be something you want me to watch you do, okay? So we ain't going to play like that. And I dang sure ain't going to be in the bathroom and you're unlocking the door. Now, I might have hauled off on shorty. I'm just keeping it funky with you. I might have hauled off on her. You'd have seen me on TMZ. This ain't the center. This ain't the center. Look, this is crazy. He writes, reading my personal journal. Oh, she done treated you like she's your mother and you're a teenage girl. She done read your diary. What? This is crazy. And asking me questions about it. Oh, the audacity. She ain't even trying to hide her wrongdoing. She's bold. This is a dangerous enemy right here, Saints. She's bold right here. She's very bold. Nah, this ain't cool. He writes, her numerous ridiculous proofs that I was still cheating. She is a mental person. Waking me up from my sleep. No, she would have got choked out. I'm telling you, sleep is precious, especially if you're a hardworking man, because you probably might not be able to get as much sleep as you would like to because you're working hard. Nah, I can't have that. No, you ain't gonna be waking me up for fun. No, not for fun, especially not to argue. You ain't gonna wake me up out of my sleep and start an argument. Nah, that's not gonna go down. He writes, waking me up from my sleep when I have to go to work, checking my phone, accusing me of deleting messages, reading my old emails and asking me about them, telling me I smell like cigarettes when I haven't been smoking, telling me I didn't really go to work when I get back from work, ratchetly chasing me down the street when I when I go to take a walk outside, this man said ratchetly chasing me. He had created an adverb. She's ratchetly chasing me. Oh my, I love it. I love it. He writes, calling my father and telling him about my arguments. I'd be curious as to what your parents have said about this, your father in particular. He writes, this isn't to say I'm without my faults. I did cheat. Yeah, but even a murderer, once they do their time and they get out of prison, we don't keep on like harassing them, right? Like at some point, we got to say, hey, you did the crime, you did the time, we're moving on. Or at some point, we got to say it's in the past. And if she wants to continue penalizing you, yeah. Well, we already decided on divorce, but what you need to figure out right now is how you can get a little bit of evidence stacked up so that you can deal with this divorce battle effectively. And this will be a battle, I promise you that. Because your regular life, the happy part of your life is already a battle. He writes, this isn't to say I'm without faults, as I did choose her. Yes, you did. He writes, I did cheat, apparently. I did lash out when she made some of her accusations, and I did show weakness by giving into everything she wants. You showed tremendous weakness. He writes, and I found out, after she found out that I cheated and exposed me to my family. I don't even, like, does your family care? I feel like if she would have told my family, they'd be like, oh, okay, carrying on. Carrying on. What are we talking about here? Tell me something I didn't know. I assumed he was cheating on you. No disrespect to you, but, come on now. Anyways, he writes, now we are separated, but she talks of restoration, but I don't want it anyways. When I think of how many hours she attacked me, from how many angles she attacked me, and how I actually feel physically sick, even thinking about it, I realize I can never be with her. I know you have plenty of emails to go through. This is true. And I didn't want to bring unnecessary traffic to your inbox. It's all right. You are a member of the family. And shout out to all the members at patreon.com/Saint in the Center, those who support and who are serious about the work. He writes, I'm planning to send you occasional emails as a subscriber. No, it's not an issue. There's no need to apologize. And truth be told, you're in an urgent situation. I hope that you are able to get out of the situation. I appreciate you having the bravery to share this sensitive matter. He writes, I trust that in the future, the content of the emails will be less strenuous and more uplifting. But this is the biggest monkey I need to get off my back. Any help is greatly appreciated. Well, number one, if I remember from the beginning of your letter, shall we say, your biggest goal was to recover some of the emails that she's taken from you. So if her goal is restoration or to get back together, and just side note, I know you didn't ask me, but I think we can all be confident that she's probably stepped out on you. And if she hasn't stepped out on you, it doesn't matter because she's drugged your name through the dirt at a level that would be the way we would treat a stranger or treat an enemy. So I do want to emphasize to you, don't go back no matter what. Now, hold on to that, put that in your brain in a compartment. Now listen to this. If your goal or outcome is to get those emails back that she's stolen from you, first you need to verify that she still has them, hasn't deleted them, that the account is still there and is still intact. Once you verify that, if her stated aim is to restore the relationship, you know what she wants. Now you've been empowered with a tool. You have something called leverage. What you are to do is to use this leverage and tell her, you know what? I'm willing to get back with you because we're married and it's till death do us part. However, we can only come back together under the appropriate circumstances. There will be no more insulting. There'll be no more put downs. There'll be no more physical violence from you. There'll be no more talking about my business out in them streets or even to my family. And we're going to make everything right that was wrong. And a part of that is you are going to surrender back my email account to me now. And not until that is done can we even engage a conversation about getting back together. But once that's done, then that will go into the bank of us getting back together because I'm interested too, but that has to happen first and I won't budge. Full stop. Then once she gives you that email address and all that information back, man, file for that divorce, bro. Get up out of there. Yes, indeed. Knock it off, Jack writes. Do you have an email so I can formally submit a request to do responses to some of your videos? Yeah, patreon.com/the-saint-and-the-sinner where I can be reached. It says, do you have an email address? Submit a request to do responses. Yeah, but if you'd like to respond to any of my public videos, yeah, feel free. If you'd like to share them, repost them, yeah, feel free. It's not an issue. I will tell you though that the do let me know first. So send me a message on Patreon before you do that. We'll give you a green light, 9 out of 9. The R. Hodge experience writes, peace to the saints, peace to the saints. Well, gentlemen, it has been truly a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you. This was quite an extraordinary situation that the saint described, and I commend him for knowing when it's too much, and it's far past too much. And I hope that he's able to get out of that challenging situation. May we all send some positive energy his way, share a positive word of support for him. And this is the kind of stuff that if you need to express yourself, you're going through stuff like this during our All Saints meeting, which I believe is tomorrow. During our All Saints meetings, these are things you can bring up, because we always have goals in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships. If you're having trouble in your relationships, this is something that you can talk about, even if you just need to express yourself. You don't even need feedback. You don't need strategy. You just like, hey, man, this is what I'm dealing with. I just need to say it out loud. Feel free. Saints, let us end this with our tradition, the Creed of Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you, the Creed of Assassin. I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable, and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.